What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another highly combustible reaction. We're jumping into something. A TED Talks. Peter von Why I Chose a Gun. Or why I chose a gun. From TED Talks. Get over, show TED all the love in the world. If you enjoy it, there's tons of brilliant things over there. I like adult debates. I like adult conversations. I like intelligent people speaking intelligently about things that most people don't speak intelligently about. So very, very looking forward to this one. Let's jump in. You wanted it, I'm here with it. Let's see what we got. Why I chose a gun. I know we got a lot of differing opinions out there on guns, and we can sit there and talk to each other till we're blue in the face, but I feel like they have a purpose in a life for sure. Let's see what Peter has to say about it. Get over, show Ted the love. Let's go.
As the highest military commander of the Netherlands, with troops stationed around the world, I'm really honored to be here today.
What better of a person to hear it from than the highest military commander? Come on.
Look around this TEDx Amsterdam venue, I see a very special audience. You are the reason why I said yes to the invitation to come here today. When I look around, I see people who want to make a contribution. I see people who want to make a better world by doing groundbreaking scientific work, by creating impressive works of art, by writing critical articles or inspiring books, by starting up sustainable businesses. And you all have chosen your own instruments to fulfill this mission of creating a better world. Some chose the microscope as their instrument. Others chose dancing or painting or making music like we just heard. Some chose the pen. Others work through the instrument of money. Ladies and gentlemen, I made a different choice.
The proper way of doing things.
Ladies and gentlemen, I share your goals. I share the goals of the speakers you heard before. I did not choose to take up the pen, the brush, the camera. I chose this instrument. I chose the gun. For you, and you heard already, being so close to this gun may make you feel uneasy. It may even feel scary. A real gun at a few feet distance. Let us stop for a moment and feel this uneasiness. You could even hear it. Let us cherish the fact that probably most of you have never been close to a gun.
That's something that Americans, honestly, I don't think we ever understand. It's that there are a lot of people in this world, a lot of people in that room right there that have never seen a gun in real life, been up close to a gun, held a gun, fired a gun. That's a whole different way of looking at life. Here, it's in us. It's bred into you. It's in your mentality. Everyone has guns. You need a gun. I chose the military path myself. It gave me a great respect for the tool that he's holding in his hand right there. It gave me a huge respect for it. It also gave me an understanding that thing's not going to get up, walk across the room, and take you out by itself. It all depends on who's holding it.
It means the Netherlands is a peaceful country. The Netherlands is not at war. It means soldiers are not needed to patrol our streets. Guns are not a part of our lives. In many countries, it is a different story.
Very different story.
In many countries, people are confronted with guns. They are oppressed. They are intimidated by warlords, by terrorists, by criminals. Weapons can do a lot of harm. They are the cause of much distress. Why then am I standing before you with this weapon? Why did I choose the gun as my instrument? Today, I want to tell you why. Today, I want to tell you why I chose the gun to create a better world. And I want to tell you how this gun can help. My story starts in the city of Nijmegen, in the east of the Netherlands, the city where I was born. My father was a hard-working baker. But when he had finished work in the bakery, he often told me and my brother stories. And most of the time, he told me this story I'm going to share with you now. The story of what happened when he was a conscript soldier in the Dutch armed forces at the beginning of the Second World War.
Gonna be an intense TED Talk. It's gonna generate conversation. We've seen a lot of the Netherlands history. We really have. We've been down the history road. We know that you could have never gotten to where you are today, to where you look at a gun and you're like, whoa, it's like right there. It's right in front of me. Like, you could have never gotten that if it wasn't for the hundreds of thousands of guns that have been used over the years. If it wasn't for people defending your country at a lot of different turns. If it wasn't for people coming in to help. If it wasn't for people that picked that instrument to come and work with said instrument to make it a better place.
The Nazis invaded the Netherlands. Their grim plans were evident. They meant to rule by means of repression. Diplomacy had failed to stop the Germans. Only brute force remained. It was our last resort. My father was there to provide it. As the son of a farmer who knew how to hunt, my father was an excellent marksman. When he aimed, he never missed. At this decisive moment in Dutch history, my father was positioned on the bank of the River Waal near the city of Nijmegen. He had a clear shot at the German soldiers who came to occupy a free country. His country, our country. He fired. Nothing happened. He fired again. No German soldier fell to the ground. My father had been given an old gun that could not even reach the opposite riverbank. Hitler's troops marched on, and there was nothing my father could do about it. Until the day my father died, he was frustrated about missing these shots. He could have done something. With an old gun, not even the best marksman in the armed forces could have hit the mark. So this story stayed with me. Then in high school, I was gripped by the stories of the Allied soldiers. Soldiers who left the safety of their own homes and risked their lives to liberate a country and a people that they didn't know. They liberated my birthtown. It was then that I decided I would take up the gun. Out of respect and gratitude for those men and women who came to liberate us. From the awareness that sometimes only the gun can stand between good and evil. And that is why I took up the gun. Not to shoot, not to kill, not to destroy, but to stop those who would do evil, to protect the vulnerable, to defend democratic values, to stand up for the freedom we have to talk here today in Amsterdam about how we can make the world a better place. Ladies and gentlemen, I do not stand here today to tell you about the glory of weapons. I do not like guns. And once you have been under fire yourself, it brings home even more clearly that a gun is not some macho instrument to brag about. I stand here today to tell you about the use of the gun as an instrument of peace and stability. The gun may be one of the most important instruments of peace and stability that we have in this world. Now, this may sound contradictory to you.
This is hella deep already. It's hit me in different kinds of ways. Not everybody that picks up a gun picks it up for the same reason. Not everybody wants to ever have to fire their weapon. But there's one thing that you learn being in the military is that there is really real evil out there. There are actual monsters. Nobody is out there saying, oh, I can't wait to shoot somebody. Nobody's out there saying that they want to take another person's life. Situation dictates everything. Having the training and having the knowledge and having it there as a tool, should you absolutely need it, that makes sense. Unfortunately, a lot of people get a bad rap. Oh, just all about him and his guns. It's all just about this and this. People join the military because they want to go be baby killers. No. It's because we actually care. Sometimes maybe more than we should. It's because we actually give a damn. It's because we don't want to see the people that we love or the country that we love hurt in any way, shape, or form. Are there people at the top that use soldiers and troops to their best advantage to do horrible things? Absolutely. But that doesn't mean that it's on the soldier or troop. That doesn't mean that it's them that's making the decision to go, oh, let me go slaughter a bunch of people. No, that's not it at all. I've said it before in other videos, but it's like a giant Hunger Games. You get dropped where you're told to go. You get told. It's drilled into your mind that, oh, we're going to drop you in a place and people are going to try to kill you. At that point, I'm getting out. I'm making it back home to my own people. I'm making it back. Should anybody want to come to my country and do horrible things, I'm ready for that. I'm willing to do what it takes. That doesn't mean that you want to. That doesn't mean that you're looking forward to it. There's all kinds of different people in the world, and people have their own thoughts and their own opinions and their own reasons for doing things. But on the whole, all the military guys that I know personally, none of them look forward to going and doing anything like that. None of them get excited or aroused at the fact that they're about to go take somebody's life. However, the world would not be where it is today, and a lot of countries would not have their freedom if it wasn't for guns. Because evil does exist, because there is an opposing factor out there.
But not only have I seen with my own eyes during my deployments in the Lebanon, Sarajevo, and as the Netherlands Chief of Defense. This is also supported by cold, hard statistics. Violence has declined dramatically over the last 500 years. Despite the pictures we are shown daily in the news, wars between developed countries are no longer commonplace. The murder rate in Europe has dropped by a factor of 30 since the Middle Ages. And occurrences of civil war and repression have declined since the end of the Cold War. Statistics show that we are living in a relatively peaceful era. Why? Why has violence decreased? Has the human mind changed? Well, we were talking on the human mind this morning. Did we simply lose our beastly impulses for revenge, for violent rituals, for pure rage? Or is there something else? In his latest book, Harvard professor Steven Pinker, and many other thinkers before him, concludes that one of the main the main drivers behind less violent societies is the spread of the constitutional state. And the introduction on a large scale of the state monopoly on the legitimized use of violence, legitimized by a democratically elected government, legitimized by checks and balances and an independent judicial system. In other words, a state monopoly that has the use of violence well under control. Such a state monopoly on violence, first of all, serves as a reassurance. It removes the incentive for an arms race between potentially hostile groups in our societies. Secondly, the presence of penalties that outweigh the benefits of using violence tips the balance even further. Abstaining from violence becomes more profitable than starting a war. Now, non-violence starts to work like a flywheel. It enhances peace even further. Where there is no conflict, trade flourishes. And trade is another important incentive against violence. With trade, there's mutual interdependency and mutual gain between parties. And when there is mutual gain, both sides stand to lose more than they would gain if they started a war. War is simply no longer the best option. And that is why violence has decreased. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the rationale behind the existence of my armed forces. The armed forces implement the state monopoly on violence. We do this in a legitimized way only after our democracy has asked us to do so. It is this legitimate, controlled use of the gun that has contributed greatly to reducing the statistics of war, conflict and violence around the globe. It is this participation in peacekeeping missions that has led to the resolution of many civil wars. My soldiers use the gun as an instrument of peace. And this is exactly why failed states are so dangerous. Failed states have no legitimized, democratically controlled use of force.
AKA America.
Failed states do not know of the gun as an instrument of peace and stability. That is why failed states can drag down a whole region into chaos and conflict. That is why spreading the concept of the constitutional state is such an important aspect of our foreign missions. That is why we are trying to build a judicial system right now in Afghanistan. That is why we train police officers, we train judges, we train public prosecutors around the world. And that is why, and in the Netherlands we are very unique in that, that is why the Dutch constitution states that one of the main tasks of the armed forces is to uphold and promote the international rule of law. Ladies and gentlemen, looking at this gun, we are confronted with the ugly side of the human mind. Every day, I hope that politicians, diplomats, development workers can turn conflict into peace and threat into hope. And I hope that one day armies can be disbanded.
Wouldn't
And humans
that be
will find a
amazing?
way of living together without violence and oppression. But until that day comes, we will have to make ideals and human failure meet somewhere in the middle. Until that day comes, I stand for my father, who tried to shoot the Nazis with that old gun. I stand for my men and women who are prepared to risk their lives for a less violent world for all of us. I stand for this soldier who suffered partial hearing loss and sustained permanent injuries to her leg when she was hit by a rocket on her mission in Afghanistan. Ladies and gentlemen, until the day comes when we can do away with the gun, I hope we all agree that peace and stability do not come free of charge. It takes hard work, often behind the scenes. It takes good equipment and well-trained, dedicated soldiers. I hope you will support the efforts of our armed forces to train soldiers like this young captain and provide her with a good gun instead of the bad gun my father was given. I hope you will support our soldiers when they are out there, when they come home, and when they are injured and need our care. They put their lives on the line for us, for you, and we cannot let them down. I hope you will respect my soldiers, this soldier with this gun, because she wants a better world, because she makes an active contribution to that better world, just like all of us here today. Thank you very much.
That was a brilliant way to put it. Absolutely a different take on it, a different way to look at it. Unfortunately for me, I live in one of these failed places that he's talking about. People say, oh, well, Harley, you have a gun. Yeah, I do. That doesn't mean that I'm going to go out and use it. That doesn't mean that I'm going to flash it around and make everybody be afraid. That doesn't mean that I'm going to use it to any kind of advantage unless somebody bad with one comes into my area looking to do harm on me or my family. Like, that's the only time that would ever even come out, that it would ever get used. I live in a failed state. I live in a place where a whole bunch of people run around every day using it as a tool of violence. But I can see the other side because I was there in the military. I wanted a better world. I wanted to make sure that everything was good. There was some checks and balances to it. It doesn't mean that you ever want to have to actually use it or the training that you're taught. Everyone just looks at anybody with a gun as a bad thing. You gotta look at it as the person behind it. The gun is nothing more than a tool. The person behind it makes up everything. If the person behind it has the right thought process, the right mentality, the right thinking, then it's nothing to worry about. Just like that gun sat on the counter right there and didn't harm a soul, that's where they'll be. That's what that person who has the right mentality is going to do with it. It will sit there until the day where it's absolutely needed to stop something evil. Totally brilliant way of looking at it. I would definitely go serve under that dude any day of the week. I would be there. I would sign up again if I could. Smash the like button if you liked it. The dislike button, but I won't believe you. Get over, show Ted all the love in the world. Until the next one, I'm highly combustible. You guys be happy, healthy, safe. I love you to the moon and back. Peace.